Welcome to Inside City Hall, the show where we take a closer look at your city government through the lens of its boards and commissions. In this show, we'll meet the volunteer commissioners and board members who provide expertise and guidance in critical decision-making that affects our community. Journey with us as we take an insider's look into the legislative process. King, and welcome to Inside City Hall. Today, we are taking you on a journey with the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. As a reminder, Inside City Hall takes a look at the commissions and boards that help to shape the city of Oakland. We like to talk to the commissioners and board members to get a little bit more information about who they are and what they do and why they love to service our great city. Today, we have with us Noelle Pond-Danchik, Kenya Wheeler, and Phoenix Mangrum. Welcome to you all. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. What is the commission and what do you guys do?
So the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, we are a commission chartered under City of Oakland ordinance to provide advice and feedback to the Oakland City Council, mayor, and city administration on bicycle and pedestrian related policies, programs, and activities throughout the city of Oakland. And we actually have been in operation since 2014. February 2014 is when the ordinance was approved, creating the commission. And we actually have a much longer lineage. We were created almost 20 years ago as part of as an advisory committee to city staff, as part of the development of Oakland's earlier bicycle citywide master plan, and served as the body served as an advisory committee. So we actually had representatives from community groups, stakeholders from certain neighborhoods, and advisory groups like the East Bay Bicycle Coalition, Walk Oakland, Bike Oakland, that provided advice to city staff on specific bicycle projects and policies.
So what does that look like? Give us a little bit of a picture of you giving advice to or talking about policies with our staff. How does that look?
Just recently in July, the BPAC, as we call it, approved and approved the updating of the bicycle master plan.
Okay.
And then from there, we did advocacy with the Planning Commission, with the Public Works, and we went to the City Council and requested that they adopt a plan.
Excellent. So the work that you're getting done behind the scenes, Noelle, what does that look like on the streets of Oakland?
Yeah, so it's all kinds of things. It's plans like bicycle and pedestrian master plans like Phoenix was talking about, but it's also infrastructure projects or citywide programs or legislation. And we're hearing from the BPAC on all of those things. So I'm a City of Oakland staff, and other city staff comes to the commission and kind of asks for those recommendations or that advice, and we take that back to our work and we try and integrate it into the work that we do.
So when I'm driving down the road and I see most recently some new bike lanes, I see new graphics on the ground as I'm driving up, as an example, Park Avenue. Is that something that had to come before you all, and is that part of the master plan?
Yeah, so it would definitely. So bicycle improvements that you see, such as like those lanes on Park Avenue, are part of either the citywide master bicycle plan, or are delivered as part of individual city infrastructure projects like our city paving program. So we currently, another big accomplishment that we had as a commission is that we helped to provide input to Oakland DOT staff in the development of a new 3-year paving plan, which is actually a $100 million effort to repave Oakland streets, and it's with a real focus on not just the data of where streets are most in need of being repaved, but also looking at demographics and equity issues around how money is being allocated. In the past, we found city staff found that many streets in the Oakland Hills, areas where people were making a lot of requests, were getting repaid, while streets in the flatlands that weren't major streets weren't being repaid and had some of the worst pavement conditions in the Bay Area. So with the work in the paving plan that we have to advise city staff on, not only are we seeing these streets repaved, but where there are projects already identified in the bicycle plan to add a bicycle lane or to enhance a bicycle lane, maybe taking it from a single lane to a buffered bike lane, so there's more safer space between drivers and vehicles and bikes. Those are being implemented by city staff.
And I'm glad you brought up the paving plan, because again, I think we get a little bit stuck in the name, Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, but that also has to do with those that are walking down the street and the lights that we see. The paving plan does have impacts on all of us. Talk a little bit more about the equity and the lens of equity that's being used to move these things forward.
Equity is sort of an abstract idea to a lot of people, including me sometimes, but that's a good example of equity. Where, as Kenya was just saying, is a $100 million project. 75 million of that is going to be, as Kenya was saying, used in communities of concern. Okay, that's the word that's commonly used, right? And so that's a good example of fairness and being just to communities that normally don't not regard it very well.
And so do you all take ideas? Do you hear from the public of their challenges or their successes or things that they really like, and they come to you and then you bring that to staff? Or does the staff generate ideas and then comes to you and says, you as the experts help to guide us? How does that look?
It's a bit of both. I mean, our commission, we have we're, as a public body, we actually have a public comment period. So anyone from the city of Oakland can come to our commission meetings. We meet the third Thursday of each month, generally at City Hall, but sometimes we move around. And you're able to actually come and bring your problems. So we have a committee of commissioners that actually just respond to people's comments and work with them when there are issues that may have been reported on our See Quick Fix app but haven't been resolved. But in addition to that, we do have staff coming to us and asking us, like even with the paving plan as an example, where there were staff wanted to know, like, is our approach on equity, does this look right? Are we leaving any communities out? Are we leaving any areas that aren't being addressed? So there is that interplay. And we also not just have City Oakland staff, but we have staff from other agencies that have projects in Oakland. Like last month, the Alameda County Transportation Commission came and spoke to us about a project that they're funding in the Port of Oakland that will help connect West Oakland to parks that are adjacent to within the port property.
That's really good. I love interagency partnerships. I like it when we can all come together and make it better for the city. So we're going to continue talking with our commissioners from the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. We'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back to Inside City Hall. We've been talking with the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and in our first segment, we talked a great deal about what the commission is and what the mission of the commission is. Now I'd like to get a little bit more about you all. As the audience may know, this is a voluntary role. You all are volunteers. You're giving of your time and your expertise to be here. Not so much you, Ms. Noel, because you are a staff member, but I would love to hear a little bit about how, as a staff member, you got involved with the commission. And then I'd love to talk to the commissioners a little bit more about how you got involved and why you give your time to the city of Oakland. Noel?
Sure. Well, I got involved in bicyclist and pedestrian issues just as kind of this great nexus of all these things I'm interested in, combating climate change, safety, equity, public health. And I think so that's why I started working here, but I really wanted to hear more about what people outside of City Hall were saying. So I think that my favorite part of working with the commission is getting to hear from the commissioners and getting to hear from the public too about what they're thinking, and like when we come up with ideas up in our offices, how does that reflect upon the people in our city, the people that are using our streets? So that's where my interest came from.
And how it really affects those, and so that you can actually see the work that you're doing in the people that you're actually serving. That sounds great. Tell me a little bit, Phoenix, about your role. How did you get involved, and how long have you been a commissioner?
I'm a new commissioner.
Okay.
I just was appointed in January
Welcome.
2019. However, from around 2015, I began to attend meetings of the BPAC. And what happened from there? Oh, and so my work is a bike safety educator with adults and youth. And so I started coming to the meetings just to broaden my knowledge about what, what was going on. And mostly they were at that time spending a great deal of time on infrastructure. And there's a big play between bicycle education and infrastructure, And so that was one of the things I was getting better information about. You talked earlier about bike lanes, but there's other aspects of the infrastructure in addition to the bike lanes that's important for riding. So that was one of my key things. And then the other thing is, is that being part of BPAC is another way to serve and to do some good. And so that's my motivation.
Your call to duty. Mr. Kenya, how about you? What was your journey to our commission?
So I was, if I mentioned before, I don't know, but I was actually a part of the BPAC before it was BPAC. So when we had an advisory committee, actually years back, I worked as a transportation planner for BART and was working on Oakland related projects. So I would come to the BPAC to talk about BART projects or to hear concerns that Oaklanders or staff had regarding access to BART. So in talking with city staff, it was I worked with Jason Patton, who's the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator, as a program manager for the city at that point. And when the commission was actually created, I applied and was part of the inaugural class of commissioners. And so I've been on the commission now for the entirety of its existence. And so I think for me, being able to evolve from a staff perspective to actually a community perspective was really really also honoring, because I feel like I'm able to take some of the professional work that I do in my day job. I've worked in the public sector, I've worked in the private sector, so I kind of have a broad understanding of how to implement and design transportation policies and programs, and I help make sure that that knowledge is being brought to bear to projects in Oakland. When the commission started, we didn't have an Oakland Department of Transportation, so there was very few resources staff-wise, and so one of the great things the commission did was also a number of commissioners have expertise as planners, as engineers, as architects, and so we were able to bring our professional background into the commission to really help advise policy development that staff wouldn't necessarily have to have access to without having to pay for it. So we provide that sort of added value of like another set of lenses that can help to really ensure that Oakland projects are actually the best that we can have for citizens. And as I'm a native of the East Bay. I've lived in Oakland now for well over 10 years. So it's great to actually be able to be a part of helping shaping policies. I know we're going to help not just myself and my neighbors, but the next generation of Oaklanders that are living here. And I think one last thing is that we really do provide a voice for those who can't get to City Hall. It's like not everyone can take time off to go to a commission meeting, but a lot of as commissioners, many of us have connections in communities that we can actually represent and make sure those voices are heard to city staff.
I'm glad you brought that up. My question to all of you is, are you now rock stars? Do people come up to you, your friends, your family, people that you work with, and say, hey, I've got this idea, or I've got this challenge, or I've got this? Are you now the go-to fix-it person for people as they're trying to get things passed through or get information passed on to City Hall?
Definitely people see us as a conduit now. Our names, like many of us have, we're featured in, or known not just in the industry, but like I've been asked by the Chronicle to give commentary occasionally. on news articles that relate to pedestrian bicycle access. I know Phoenix has also been reached out to by media. So we are seen now as like ambassadors for the public for how do you actually get access to if you have a question or concern. Like I've had inquiries about specific bike projects, and some of them are already in our plans. Others are ones that need to be developed by staff. But it does give the public a face of like how you can access the sort of sometimes not transparent or seemingly like large bureaucracy that a city might have.
David and Goliath.
Yeah, I mean, now let's add to what Kenya's saying. We're looking at now of taking our BPAC meetings to the community, and as well as some of our subcommittees. And in fact, I chair the subcommittee on police relations, and so I don't think we've ever met in City Hall. We've always met outside of, in some area of the community.
And so do you see a difference in those that are coming to the meetings when you leave City Hall and actually go to meet people where they are?
Yeah, sure. It's easier for them to contact us because we're right there.
Excellent.
And so yeah, we're looking at doing a BPAC, start doing our BPAC meetings is out in the community as often as we can.
Taking it on the road.
Yeah.
With the last few seconds in this segment, can you share any one particular project that you guys, or one thing that you got moved forward personally that really affected you and made you feel really proud? Is there any one thing that you've done on the board that's been like, oh, yes?
I mean, we've had a lot of things. You're the newest thing, so you have anything you want to chime in on? Or?
Well, my champion is updating of the master bike plan.
Okay.
Of 2019.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, that was part of that for almost 2 years, and most of it not being part of BPAC, but part of a community organization that was chartered to help the city develop the update. Nice. And so, but becoming a commissioner and have the commission to say yes, we want this bike plan, and then go through all the steps that took it for the city council to adopt it.
I'm singing that song, I'm Just the Bill, in my head from Schoolhouse Rock. So you got to see it go all the way through to the end, and you got your final products. That's a good thing. You are watching Inside City Hall, and we are talking to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. We're going to take a quick break.
Hi, my name is Ivana Cáceres, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement with the Mayor's Office in the City of Oakland. I'm here to invite you to apply for our boards and commissions. We have about 35 of them, and we believe there's a board or commission for everyone, and we really want to make sure that our boards and commissions reflect the diversity of Oakland. So how do you apply? You head to our city's website, you'll see boards and commissions, click on that. That page will have a listing of all of our boards and commissions, and you'll be able to see what the requirements are, what the meeting times are, if there are any vacancies. Read through those, see which ones interest you, and you can apply for one of them by clicking on the green apply button, or you can apply for a few all at once. You'll be asked to submit your resume as well as a couple sentences of why you're interested, and then once you hit submit, we'll get the application and you'll get a confirmation that you've applied. It takes about 2 to 3 months for us to review the application. The review is handled by either the staff liaison to the board or the board chair or nominating committee, and they're just trying to see that your interests match up and also your qualifications match up with the requirements of the board. That then gets sent to the mayor and I. We prepare a letter of appointment, she'll sign it, and then the ultimate approval and vote is done by City Council. Then the City Clerk's office helps you get sworn in and sign any necessary paperwork. So we want to encourage you to apply. There is a board and commission for everyone. We definitely want people who want to help local government and believe in local government. Boards and commissions work on things that Oaklanders care about, whether it's libraries, parks. There are a number of boards that were created by voter mandates. For example, Measure H created the Sugar Sweetened Beverage Tax Advisory Board. Measure LL created the Police Commission. But ultimately, each board has its own unique set of requirements, and we're really seeking folks from all sorts of life experiences and backgrounds to be a part of each board. So again, we encourage you to apply, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to the mayor's office and myself. So we hope to see you and your application coming in, and then you'll be able to join the 300+ team of excellent volunteers for the City of Oakland.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where our guests this week are the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commissioners. So in the last few segments, we've gotten a lot of information from you all about what the commission is, why you're a part of it. Tell us a little bit about why Oaklanders should care about your commission and know about the work that you guys are doing.
So our commission is charged with really providing for Oaklanders the best and safest experience you can have either walking or biking throughout the city. And everyone walks. Even if you're a driver, you walk between your car and your parking space, and like the business you're going to, or the venue you're attending, or the park you're checking out. And in Oakland, we have so many people that also don't have cars. And so one of the things that's been really, actually was a genesis for our commission, is ensuring that we have policies so that everyone in Oakland, whether or not you have a car, has a safe way to travel to work, to school, to a doctor's appointment, to hang out with their kids, and through means of ensuring that not just that you have a safe path, but that you also have access to those resources. One of the things that we've have also been advocating for in terms of equity is making sure that there are, as we see new modes of mobility coming, that we have equal access to that. But
tell us about those new modes of mobility, because there are a lot.
Sure. So one of the things we've seen in just the last few years, that's 3 years, it's been companies coming in with new modes of travel like electric. First we saw shared bikes, and there were shared bikes. There's a program called what's now called Bay Wheels, which is a regional compact of Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, and Berkeley that have shared bikes that you can check out by the hour. And you can take them in basically between different stations. But there's also companies that have had dockless bikes. We had Lime Bike for a while, where they've transitioned now to scooters. And so now the big thing we're seeing is e-scooters. And there's several companies that are working with City of Oakland to get permits. So there's Lime, Lyft has a company, Bird has a scooter. And these are basically allow you with an app to check out a scooter for, by the minute, and use it to take a, powered trip around the city. So you don't have to, if you're not able to catch a bus, or the bus is not running very frequently in your area, you could use it as an option or an alternative. And we're finding actually that a lot of people are using these instead of driving. The most recent data that we saw, it's like a third of the riders were, instead of taking a trip in a car, like one of these, they were using the scooter. So it's actually a way to actually grow the access for people to get around Oakland.
So is that a trend? Are you all seeing that as the future of, or rather I should ask you, what do you see as the future of walking and wheeling in our city?
We're advocating that.
You're advocating for more wheeling and walking in our city.
Exactly.
And what does that look like? And what does that look like as far as safety? What does it look like as far as the benefits? What does it look like as far as access?
If people are biking or are using some of the other modes of transportation other than using their cars, it's good for their health. It's good for the climate change. We are in the middle of a climate change thing now, and so and it's good for the environment.
Yeah, it's a good thing overall.
Yeah, and just add to that, like as Phoenix was saying, we are in the middle of this climate emergency. We have a state mandate. Our state has decided that we want to take a proactive step in reducing our impact on the environment, reducing our and transportation is actually one of the biggest sources of climate change related emissions that we haven't addressed. I mean, there's been a lot of work to change building codes, but most people still drive to work. Most people still drive for their errands. And so whatever we can do to make it safer for you to take your kids, walk them to school, or to walk to your neighborhood grocery, or to walk to BART, or walk to a bus and take a bus to work, that will help reduce our greenhouse gas impacts. And I think one of the reasons, and just getting back to something you asked earlier, like the reason why Oaklanders should really care about our commission is that this is a venue where your tax dollars are paying for these services. And so if you're not speaking up, you may not be getting the services that you rightfully deserve. Mm-hmm. And so we as commissioners can definitely be that voice, but we also need Oaklanders to come in and speak as well. one thing we are seeing, actually, and we've heard from people, as like you mentioned, in future mobility, is that people who don't necessarily have the same financial resources as like someone who's like living at the median income needs to have access to these new modes of mobility. So we've been really proud to see like the City of Oakland staff working with the commission, working with community groups like Transform, like Scraper Bike Team, and there's now a new mobility hub that's being created in East Oakland that will allow for individuals who can't say afford access to a scooter or to the bay wheel shared bikes or to a Lyft ride to get a discounted access, or in some cases a free access to that, or even be able to check out bikes for free.
Excellent. So how would you encourage an Oaklander to get involved in the commission, Noel?
Sure. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways at different levels. The easiest thing you can do is go to our website and look up the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission and oaklandca.gov, and there's a button where you can click to subscribe to receive our agendas. The next thing you can do is come to a meeting, and you can speak during open forum. You can speak on any of the items. You can also get involved in one of the many committees of the commission. We have a bunch of committees where commissioners and public are allowed to work together to kind of dive deeper into issues like infrastructure, legislation, policing, all kinds of things, and so members of the public can sit on those committees as well. And then,
I'm sorry.
Oh, and then the last thing that you can do is you can apply to be a commissioner, and we have applications every year. We have some new commissioners.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. If someone wanted to join your board, how would they do that?
Well,
I'll let,
So there's commissioners we are appointed by the mayor of Oakland. Mayor's office, her office has a website portal where you can apply to be join the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. As Noel mentioned, we do have rolling applications for new commissioners because we have term seats that are up every year. So there are opportunities each year for Oaklanders to come and join the commission.
Excellent. And all of that can be found on our website, correct?
yes.
So if there's anything in our last few minutes, if there's anything that you all want to add, is there anything that's very exciting that's coming down the pike? Is there anything about the future of our roads? Is there anything that a message that you'd like the public to hear about walking and wheeling in our city? Phoenix, I think you're dying to answer that question.
I'm not, but not the way you asked it. But
How should I ask it, sir?
Well, I'm very excited about our subcommittee on police relations. Okay, and we just adopted a mission statement for it, and we're going to take a look at detentions and arrest of bicyclists in various parts of our city, and find out why those took place. And once we get a good feel of the data, then we'll look at our constituent group, which includes the OPD, City Council, ODOT, Noel, and other folks around the city in the communities. And then we got to decide how we're going to use all this information.
Excellent.
And in what way. Who gets the advice? Who do we advocate with? Who do we just give information to, and they can do whatever they do with. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, and I'm definitely excited because that's something we heard from the community members that they wanted to see our commission address. When we were, as part of there was a 2-year process to develop the bike master plan. We went out to community folks. We were asking people, like, West Oakland, East Oakland, why aren't you riding? And folks were saying, well, because we feel like you might be getting harassed by the police. So it's like this is a way we can actually take development of policies and using the venue of the bike plan and of the commission help to really improve lives for all Oaklanders and make sure that everyone feels like they have a safe access to our streets.
Ms. Noel, anything to add at the end?
I'm just going to say that we're in changing times. We have the climate crisis, we have a huge influx of people into our city, and I think that it's providing a great opportunity for people who care about mobility justice and who want to get more people outside walking and riding to get involved in our work. So come see what we do and try and shape this imminent future.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very, very much for joining us. Phoenix, Noel, Kenya, thank you very much for sharing a little bit about what you do and sharing your pride. And thank you for watching. We enjoy sharing information about our boards and commissions so that you can find ways to be involved and make this your city and feel like you're a part of all of the decisions and the policies that we have here for our residents. This is Inside City Hall. I am Autumn King, and thank you for watching.